All right, so day two morning session is in the books, and we do have some Ferrari action at the top of the charts, as well as a few things that have come about for a few teams getting some of their designs and ingenuity out there that have been largely talked about are Audi and Alpine, both A teams. Okay, so Leclerc right now, let's get into that. Leclerc, as of right now, is at the top of the times, setting a 134. Lewis Hamilton also had his moment at the top of the times yesterday in day one. Today is day two. And what's going on in Sure Frames? And I will just say that I think I think this is good. I do think this is good. I still think it's way early, but remember what I said. I didn't want to see Ferrari hanging about around in the 5 to 6 range. That's where they've been. New season for sure, bro. It's been a while. Glad you came around. It's it's been a while that Ferrari has been there. Podium here and there, spike here and there, but for the most, they've been top 10 mid. So right now, I know especially in day three, many people that are Ferrari fans and are just Formula One fans are wanting to see, are interested to see if Ferrari is going to be in that top, at least top five, probably really top three. I think as far as constructor championships, they float around at five. It's about high time Ferrari claims a championship themselves. So they really want to see if they've made a tremendous amount of progress since last season. Last season was rough. Okay. It was rough for Ferrari fans. It was rough for Ferrari. Definitely not taking advantage of what they had available to them. I'm just going to say it like that. Ferrari definitely didn't take advantage of what they had available to them in the form or contributions of Lewis Hamilton or even maybe Charles Leclerc, because I think there was some potential loss there as well. Now, I'm pretty sure that we don't want to say Charles is done growing for sure because of his age and his time in Formula One. If we say that about him, then we have to be open to say that about Lewis Hamilton. And I don't think that about Lewis Hamilton, although the talents and abilities of either driver are vastly different as far as what they've accomplished. Lewis Hamilton has accomplished way more than any other driver that's on the grid right now. And big shout out to my baby. My baby came home from a book fair and she got me this book yesterday. Use her money, which I tell her not to, and she bought me this book, which is an absolutely awesome book. And I just got to talk about that real quick. And on the first page, who do you think's on the first page? On the first page is starting the drivers. Let's see who's on the first page. I wonder who. It is Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton is on the first page. So that's what we got. Lewis Hamilton on the first page. Bunch of stats, bunch of facts. Very good book. I'm very happy that she thought about me. But back to this. Appreciate you, brother, man. Appreciate your intro frame. What's up, Miss Dino? What's up, Miss Dino? I see Julius got in here early. Incredible Facts Quest was in here as well. So yeah, I think that this is gonna be this is good right now. It's not say all be all. We do have some things that we're going to talk about in regards to teams and development. So let's go ahead and get to that real quick and bring that in big screen. So one of the most interesting things aside from Audi sidepod design is the Alpine rear wing. That is very interesting in its way of functioning. So Alpine, different than any other team on the grid, different than the other 10 teams. Alpine's rear wing basically actuates down, okay? It doesn't actuate up on the leading edge. It actuates down on the trailing edge, which is vastly different. And I do have my opinions on that by looking at some charts and some graphics about how airflow would travel over that surface. It very well could be good and it very well could not be. And I think more so, it could not be. And I do have my opinions on that, so I'll probably save that for another video later on today about Alpine's rear wing and why I think that it could be a few more cons than pros, but always different is unexplored, and unexplored territory in Formula One could land you in a performance treasure. So I also commend Alpine on doing something different, stepping up and stepping forward since they've had abysmal seasons, having the Mercedes power unit, and now exploring some different options when it comes to the rear wing actuating. So just like Mercedes tried this back then with the slim down side pod, that is the risk that you run. You run a risk of potentially being behind in development because this development did not work, but this is the best place to try it. And so if it's not going to yield any positive results, they need to switch up and start testing by even as soon as tomorrow, or even as soon as day 2, second session, afternoon or evening session, and start collecting data on something a bit more traditional. That is what I would suggest. But if it's something that they see some benefits from, then keep running it and see what all you can extract from it. But it is very interesting. But I do have a couple of things I think might be some drawbacks, in my opinion, when I initially first saw it. Now, Julius brought it to my attention in day one and asked if I had seen it, which I hadn't at that time. So when I got off, I did do as I told him. I went ahead, looked it up, looked at some videos, and immediately I came up with a con. I didn't come up with a pro. I came up with something that probably is why it wouldn't be the best. Not that it wouldn't work, because evidently it's working, right? The Alpine rear wing is working. It's not that it's not working. It's definitely working. It's definitely actuating. But I came up with a couple of cons before I came up with a pro on it as to why it might not be the best option. That doesn't mean that it's not the better option. It doesn't mean that this development is not going to do well from Alpine. But I do find it largely interesting, as well as we were discussing the offset timing of the flaps actuating on the Ferrari. I don't know if that's still the case. I need to go back and look at some video when that's available in this day with Charles Leclerc and see when those flaps are actuated, if the timing is still offset. But other than that, the next team that we do have to talk about is Audi. And this is a tremendous angle. This is a lovely angle that gives you a clear and visual representation of how odd these side pods are on this Audi. Tremendously odd, very artistic looking. I like the aero rakes behind there just before the rear tires, collecting that data on how air is moving across that car. But right here, you can clearly see the vast difference in these side pods. Very deep top portion, which we call the water slides, correct? We know these to be the water slides, very heavily pronounced on the Alpine of last season for the side pod area, what we would call the water slides. The undercut of a traditional side pod is definitely not there in that sense. And that squeeze of the inlet of the side pod on the forward section is very slim side pod Mercedes reminiscence. So it looks good. It looks cool. I think we might have what we may call PTSD from the Mercedes development, that we're not all excited about it. When I saw it, I said, yeah, it looks cool, but I wasn't overly excited about, oh, what is this going to do? Like, how is this going to transform the world of the sport of Formula One, like I was when I saw the Mercedes? When I saw the Mercedes for the first time, slim down side pods, I think I was not far off from many of us, that we were all in awe and wowed, and this is going to be a game changer. And they have to have saw something in this development to the point where they're about to be so far ahead of the other teams that when the other teams realize that they have to then try to follow suit with Mercedes, which, yeah, they had a couple of their customer teams, Williams and McLaren, that kind of had their variation of the slim down side pod. But we left that idea in the behind way, way, way longer than we needed to. We needed to leave it sooner. We needed to evacuate that sooner. Mercedes needed to evacuate that sooner. And then what happened is it became a portion of denial where many people were thinking that Mercedes is sandbagging. They're sandbagging. They got a lot of performance with this design is going to come out. Williams and McLaren jumped out of that real soon. They jumped out of that development into more traditional real soon. I am wondering if this is going to be the case with Audi. That's just where I sit with it right now. Is Audi going to be in a situation where they're going to have to evacuate this? But we will see. New team, young team, very bold move. Maybe they've learned something from Mercedes going through it for almost 3 seasons of that should have been left behind and gone. And we'll see what happens with that. So very interesting. What's up, Nads? Miss Dino, I see you in here. So very interesting. We'll see how that pops off. Now, something that definitely I really need to see from Audi is just the ability to consistently improve through the season. I think we have to be very cautious of how we're going to judge a brand new team coming into the sport. I don't think it's fair to assume or attach Audi's achievements outside of Formula One in Formula One and just automatically assume anything they do is gold. They're going to run it up. This is what they do. This is a new ball game for Audi. Okay, this is not just they're going to come in and just have their way. If you think that, then you're sadly mistaken. Not saying that you can't be right on the whim that they get it right and all of a sudden it's Audi and they just start running up, but it's just very unlikely. So we'll see what happens with that. We'll see what happens and how Audi still performs going through the rest of the day. But you can also see here, I don't like that they need to change the color of Audi from Ferrari. Audi needs to have maybe a bit more reddish orange, or maybe they need to go some other color. They need to do something with the variation because it clearly you look at that and you're saying Hulkenberg is with Ferrari and Leclerc is his teammate. They need to change that color up some to get some variation on the chart. But yeah, Audi with Hulkenberg in 6 for some timing is a positive look. It's not, like I said, the be all say all. We have Norris, the previous world champion, in 2nd. Gasly with the Alpine car in 3rd. Behrman at Haas in 4th. Albon 5th. Good to see Williams up there. We got Perez and Cadillac at 8th. Of course, we got Hulk and Lawson. We got Alonso, Antonelli 10th, and Hadjar 11th. Okay, so what I will say is Cadillac is also in that group of new cars. We're not going to overjudge them. But Antonelli and Mercedes and Alonso at Aston Martin, yeah, there's going to be some heavy criticism if Aston Martin and Mercedes are not where they should be. Now, I did see some rumor that the FIA are going to, or maybe they are considering implementing a test for the engine checks under heated conditions. All right, as you see right there, the clock's just been reset for the time for the 2nd session in day 2. 4 hours is now on the clock. All teams are still in the pits. So there was a rumor, or I did see a report that the FIA are going to implement said test under warm or heat conditions, basically to try to get a more of a grasp on what's happening in the engine underneath those warmer conditions versus just sitting cold and at ambient temperatures. If Mercedes cannot pass that test or that compression check or whatever it is that they're doing, then Mercedes will be under extreme pressure to find a way to produce or develop their power unit within the regulations. I do think it's a bit of chicken shit. I think it's a bit of bullshit, and it is Red Bull. No pun intended. Yeah, I do intend for it to be disrespectful. Red Bull doing bullshit. I saw a report that since Red Bull could not maybe make that trick work, then they went ahead and jumped off that ship and pointed the finger at Mercedes. And now Mercedes, being the only team, does give the FIA more leverage to say, hey, you're the only one. And since you're the only one and it's this early in the season, we might just find the standard where that's not going to work. and you're going to have to go back in there. Multiple cars gives more of the team's leverage, even if it's 2 teams. 3 teams is even better because it's, are we going to, and especially with it being top teams. Now, with it being Red Bull, does it look suspect because they didn't get it to work that they're going to be out here? Yeah, it looks suspect, as it always does with Red Bull. And it's an issue. But something else with Red Bull is, seems Toto Wolff is not the only person, along with Zach Brown, that is surprised about the performance of the Red Bull car. It seems Ford and Red Bull are not only reliable, but it seems that they have a bit of pace that has taken some recognition from the other team principals. Zach Brown has said it. Toto Wolff has said it. And we'll see if that is really going to be realized at the end of the session, at the end of testing. We'll see how much of this is actually going to be something for them to be worried about. Right now, I just think it's honestly what I call grading on a curve, okay? Just keep it a buck. Grading on a curve. And this is not anything racist. This is just what it is. If you saw LeBron James dunk 360, you're like, oh, that shit was nice. That was nice. If you see Paul Gasol, or if you see Luka Doncic do a 360 dunk, you're going to be a bit more excited. You're going to be a bit more hyped about, like, oh, shit, there's a grade curve there. There's a grade curve there. Let's just keep it a buck. It's just, if you saw a guy that was 6'5", dunk from the damn foul line, then you see somebody that's 5'5", take off from the foul line and dunk, you're going to be hyped about that. There's just a vast difference in your expectations from one individual to the other individual. And when they do the same thing another individual does, when you don't think they should be, it's like, damn, that's kind of what it's like with Ford. Ford does not have a largely good reputation here, especially in the States. There are a lot of acronyms for Ford, and most of them are not good. Ford, found on road dead. Ford, fix or repair daily. And there's one they say first on race day, but we'll see about that. So I'm not sure if they had a lot of, the expectations weren't high about Ford coming into the sport with Red Bull and actually performing well. So now that they see that it's reliable, which technically not good for Ford, fix or repair daily, we don't think of Ford and think of reliability. And it's reliable. They're like, oh, damn. The fact that it has some pace, and they're thinking, like, and every time I go to the track and I see a Ford Mustang doing consistently fast passes, it usually has a General Motors Chevy 350 or LS or 6-liter engine in it. It's not a Ford engine, I know that. So now that they see it has some pace, they're kind of like, damn. So I'm not sure if it's just they were surprised because the expectations were low, or it's legit what they're seeing out there on track. When I saw the car go by, it didn't seem as fast as when I saw the Ferrari go by. So I'll just say that. So we'll see what it really is when it gets down to it. All right, so we got 3 hours and 55 minutes on the clock. Everybody's still in the pits. So that's where we are right now for some of the largely popping things coming out of day one into day two. Ferrari looking good. As far as with Leclerc having top of the times in the first session of day two. We'll see what happens in the second session of day two, where those times will be. But it is good to see Ferrari being able to make some time up there. And these times are starting to tick down. Remember, I think when we first started in day one, it was 139s, then we got 138s, then 137s, then 136. So now we're getting into 134s. That is steady progress moving forward for these teams, and the times just starting to tick down. So definitely very, very interested in that. I wonder if this book has the Bahrain track in it, because it has top 5 tracks. I don't know if Bahrain's going to be one. Silverstone did. It wasn't one of the top 5 in that book. What's up, Julius? So, yes. Now, also, let's talk about teams or drivers that are now back rejoining the grid. We got Valtteri and we have Perez. I did see some Mercedes merch. They look pretty decent. So it looked a nice hoodie. I saw a nice hoodie by Cadillac. And that was nice for Valtteri and Perez. I was almost thinking about ordering one of those hoodies. But looking for these two guys to really show their potential in regard to all of the experience that they've had. Right now, to me, Cadillac has a driver's pairing that is very intriguing because what you have at Cadillac is potentially two 1B drivers in perspective of where they were in their other teams with their other teammates. Valtteri, to me, was a 1B driver next to Lewis Hamilton, 1A, of course. Perez, very controversial about his ability being dampened by Red Bull because of the way they run things over there in regard to just hosting Max Verstappen up on a pedestal. But I think Perez also 1B, solid for sure, 2 driver at Red Bull, but I'll give him 1B right now within that because he was second in Drivers' Championship points. He was there, contributed very heavily to Red Bull's campaign to get a Constructors' Championship, and at one point in time was 6 points off of being, I believe, the first Mexican to lead in the Drivers' Championship standings. So now you have these two 1B drivers from championship teams, teammates of championship drivers in big programs now at Cadillac. Who is going to emerge as the solid number one driver out of these two? And you also have two personalities in Valtteri and Perez up until this point. Don't know what it's going to be like with their chemistry together, but up until this point, you have two personalities of drivers who seem like they can get along and not have the biggest ego. I have to be out in front because I am him. I think that this is going to be one of the better team pairings, better driver pairings, better functioning partnerships on the grid. Whereas we saw Charles probably a little bit wrong. We thought Charles with Lewis Hamilton coming in, it was going to be, hey, I'm going to try to learn all I can. I'm going to be the best that I can, but I'm not going to sit here and cause any waves, and I'm not going to unnecessarily risk the team's position by trying to race Lewis Hamilton and feel like I got a chink on my belt because I outpaced the 7-time world champion. You don't have that right now with Perez and Valtteri. What you have is the dynamic of, can I just show that I'm the number one and you're the number two? Or, listen, who's ever number one on race day, that's who it's going to be. I'm going to support you if you are. If I am, I expect for you to support me if I am. And then we help this team grow. I think that is more likely with Valtteri and Perez. So I think that right now, not saying on pace, I just think that right now Cadillac has the better overall wholesome drivers pairing. Let me say that, wholesome, okay? So we'll see how that turns out when the season starts and the lights go off and turn one shows up and these two drivers might be next to each other. We're going to see if that's going to hold true. We do know drivers are very selfish. They have to be. They have to be all about self when they're in that car because it's a very competitive sport, but they have to be able to feather between those lines of teamwork and just me work. So we'll see where that's going to happen. Also, interested in the Hulkenberg and Bortoleto with Audi coming in. That veteran and rookie, which Bortoleto is no longer a rookie, but still compared to Hulkenberg, who's been in the sport for so long and just achieved his first podium as the last season. I'm very interested to see if that dynamic is still going to be working. Is Hulkenberg going to accept that my time in the sport is still active, but my ability to do everything that I wanted to do is likely kind of behind me? Bortoleto is coming up. He is the team's future. I am going to be competitive. I'm not going to give up anything easily just to give it up because he's Bortoleto and he's the future, but I'm not also going to risk him and us having a collision if I think he's got it. My main job here, or my main position here, is to try to help form and shape this guy up, this young blood up, into being a very vital component for Audi. Just going to see how that dynamic is going to work, because out of everybody on the grid right now, that's where you have a strong veteran and rookie combination. Ocon and Behrman. Ocon still kind of feels like he might be in his prime, so it's not there. You also have Russell and Antonelli. Russell's going to feel like he's pretty much in his prime, so that's not there. Sainz and Albon is the same way. Lewis Hamilton and Leclerc could have been, but Leclerc has proven to us that he's more worried about beating Lewis and trying to be in there than he probably should be. We got Behrman out on track, and then we have Lawson, and of course, that's definitely not it. You got two young guns there going to be gunning for it. So that's the vet to rookie biggest team pairing right there. And then you got Alonso and Stroll. That's just to me, not great. I don't like Alonso that much, but he's the better driver. He's the better option. And Lance Stroll, up until this point, hasn't proven to be good in perspective of his other teammates. I do think right now, given what we've seen, Lance Stroll is going to hold any development that Adrian Newey brings into that AMR car. He's going to hold it back, and Alonso's going to be able to unlock it. And I just wonder at some point in time, is there going to be an uproar within Aston Martin to say, yo, you gotta fire this fucking guy. You got to get rid of Stroll. You got to get rid of your son. He's not helping us. We've played this game long enough. He's driven Formula One cars long enough. He could talk about it until the days grow old. But right now, we're trying to fucking win. And he's not the best option for us to win. If we come into this season and Adrian Newey designs a beast of a car, the Honda power unit proves to be reliable and fast, development proves to be promising, and Alonso's grabbing podiums, while again Lance Stroll doesn't, this shit's got to change. And if it doesn't, I'm telling you right now, Lawrence Stroll is going to go down in Formula One history as the most negligent owner ever. An owner who prided his relationship in giving his son the ability to play in expensive cars over the team having the ability to win championships. That's not going to go over well. He's going to look foolish. And maybe he's smug and arrogant enough to shrug it off, but it's not going to change the optics. You're going to look foolish, you're going to look crazy, and you're going to look stupid. And I don't want to call somebody stupid, but you're going to look stupid. And I'm just saying, if those things happen this season and you still keep Lance Stroll in that car, there should be a damn mutiny there. I'm just keeping it a buck. Keeping it a buck. It just really should. At that point in time, it's getting out of hand. It's gonna get out of hand. This has got to stop at some point in time. So right now, I do know both sides of the fence. Haters. What's up, Julius? Haters and lovers of Mercedes, I think were really looking for a bust out of that gate moment. And it seemed like it was going to happen. Still could happen. I don't know. I do know right now, it's not looking good. This is still testing. It is only day 2. A lot can happen before the end in the last session of day 3. But Mercedes not looking the best. Mercedes is not looking the best. They, according to that chart that you're looking or you're viewing right now, Mercedes is almost probably 5 seconds off the gap of the leader. That's a ways down. That's way off, I'm pretty sure, than what they would like to be. And yeah, that's what I'll say. I'll leave that there for a moment with Mercedes. Bit off than I think they really wanted to be. But in regards to the Racing Bulls, we're just kind of going to see whatever happens with them. Even me, I don't like Red Bull. Don't get it twisted, but you can't deny seeing a team do something you didn't expect them to do. And let's keep it real. When Liam Lawson outperformed Verstappen here and there in qualifying, and Hadjar was doing what he was doing in the Racing Bulls, I was like, hey, some good stuff going on right there. So if they come in this season and outperform, then I'm still going to be like, hey, there's some good stuff going on right there. It's continuous growth, because overall in the sport, we are, I can't say, I'm not going to speak for you. I want all these teams to be competitive, fair, competitive, within the rules, exploiting gray areas, competitive, not Red Bull cheating, competitive, not Red Bull FIA in my pocket, competitive. And this is a new season, so I'm giving Red Bull a fresh sheet of paper, and they're already righting wrongs. You're already being slight and smug and underhanded. That's some snitch shit. To be in the group, and then all of a sudden you can't make it work. So what do? Go snitch and then start pointing the fingers? That's already started. You got a smudge on your record already, and the season hasn't started. I thought a lot of the Red Bull ways were going to be gone because Helmut Marko was out of there. Adrian Newey decided he was going to bounce. I can't keep my hands to myself. Christian Horner's out of there. Max Verstappen's up, but Hadjar's in. We got a different team principle. I really thought some of those ways were going to change, but maybe some of the wrong and some of the bullshit that is so deeply rooted in Red Bull, maybe it won't change. And I'm just hoping that the drivers change, that Hadjar has an opportunity to really be the best him there. And I think we all shared, or many of us, not say all, I don't want to indict everybody, but I think a lot of us shared that it's probably not going to be that way because it never, and it hasn't been that way. And we're just hoping it changes for Hadjar because some of us have a good regard for Hadjar. I like Hadjar. I want to see Hadjar do good. I didn't want to see him go to Red Bull because I was already concerned that he was going to be dampened because of the way things have run thus far at Red Bull. So I'm hoping not. I want to see Hadjar on a podium, on a few podiums this season. Hell, I'd like to see him be in contention for the Drivers' Championship if that ever were a possibility. But you got a lot of smoke at the top. You got a lot of smoke. If these cars are competitive and they're on the right track, you got a lot of smoke at the top. You got Lewis Hamilton. You got Max Verstappen. You got Lando Crybaby Norris. You got Oscar Piastri, probably with a fucking grudge to be held. Shit, you got a lot of smoke up there. You got a lot of drivers that are going to give that a challenging run. It's not going to be easy. So we'll see how that goes. Big shout out. We got Racing Bulls out there on track taking up some laps. We got Haas out there. We got Gasly from Alpine out there taking up some laps. So cars are starting to get out there. Teams are starting to run their protocols and their programs for the second part of this session. And this is what we've come to. So more to come on all of these things as this day two will start unfolding in the second half. And it's almost race time. I have to say, I'm not overly excited yet. Usually at this point in time, I'm really pumped and excited about the season getting started. Right now, I'm just more cautiously intrigued. Cautiously intrigued on Ferrari. Kind of cautiously intrigued on Audi. Cautiously intrigued on Alpine. Cautiously intrigued on Aston Martin. I'm just very cautious. I don't know about how any of you feel. Let's poll it because I want to know how you feel. I want to know. I'm going to put some options up. Let me see. I guess we could put meh in there. What else can we put? Kind of reserved. Let's put reserved in there. And just I guess we could put that. Cuz some of you might feel that way. I don't care yet. Let's see what you say. How are some of you feeling right now? Right now, day two, season getting ready to start. We're in testing. This is where we're officially getting into the blocks of getting ready to start off in this season. I initially wasn't very, I'm just very cautious. Like I'm eager, but I'm cautious about everything that is to come up. So that's kind of where I am right now. Very cautious, not overly excited, just waiting to see. I think I will be more pumped when we get to the first race in Australia. But right now I'm just kind of really looking to see how it's going. And I think a large part of that is because new regs, a lot of new things with the car, a lot of unproven things with the teams. So I don't really have a reason either or way to be overly excited because I'm still just waiting to see who's going to prove to be where they are. And then maybe my excitement kicks in, or maybe it just waits until race day. 43% of you all said you're reserved. I can feel you. That's kind of where I am. I'm reserved. I'm where you are. I'm glad nobody say I don't care yet, because then it'd be one of them, well, some people probably that don't care yet aren't here yet. Still waiting. So we'll see how that goes. So, yeah, 38 excited, 38 reserved, 44 now excited. That's a Lewis Hamilton number. 44 is a good number, but 44% saying they're excited, still 33% reserved. So a good amount of people are still reserved. good amount of people are still reserved. And I think I'm with the 33% that are still reserved. So also do not forget this Sunday, we're going to have the Wolves Den in the Discord. If you're not a member, if you don't have a badge, your name's not green, like Julius, like Nate, like Dino, like Nadsy, like Insure Frames, you won't be able to participate in the Wolves Den Discord meet where we all get in there and have a conversation about everything that's going on. So you already know Sunday we're going to be talking about testing. We're going to be talking about Alpine, Mercedes, Audi, Ford, Red Bull. We're going to be talking about that. So you definitely want to start your memberships up now before the season starts, because we go heavy talking in those conversations. We go heavy on trying to do the F1 Minute where it's only access for members to come up and speak. We go heavy on a lot of that. So we go heavy on trying to find guests and guests coming in and you all being able to talk to the guests. So definitely get your membership started up at the Wolf Pack so you can get into the Discord. You can talk to a lot of other fans such as yourself, family members. There's a lot of different rooms in there. So yeah, we like to have a good time here. So we'll see what's going to happen. Anthony Carrier, I'm a racing fan. New regs, new excitement. I like that, brother. I like that. That's fair. And don't get me wrong, I'm very interested in the regs. I'm just very reserved on trying to see what these teams are going to do. So there's a level of excitement there, but it's just not like all pumped excitement where I'm just, man, I just want the first race to get started. Now, I want testing to slow down. I want testing to last as long as it can in perspective and see how much comes out of this. I like when the aero rakes are out. I like to see the flow viz. I like to see the laps that aren't really pushing competitive laps to see what these teams are doing and what they're working on. And then the car go back into the garage and come out with a PTOD or some type of other measurement device or something that these teams are trying to grab some type of information to improve. I like this portion. So I like just to see it all mixed up. I know to some people they say it's boring. To me, it's very interesting. To me, it's very interesting to see these teams try to develop before the season starts. So I'm very interested in that. So I don't know if that equates to excitement, but it does equate to very interested to see how all that folds out. So big shout out to everybody in the live chat. Big thanks for pulling up with us. We are going to get ready to get out of here. I will see you on the next live. Well, likely that may be today because I kind of want to talk about the Alpine wing and some of that. And it might be tomorrow, but we will be live again. All right. So stay safe, stay positive, be safe, and be kind to somebody else. Peace. We're out.